What time is it? It's nation time.
As we discussed the legacy of Marcus Garvey, one of the points that comes out is this whole effort to portray Garvey as a criminal, essentially. Uh, and I'm curious what your thoughts are as we find ourselves where we are in this country. How, well, let me say that question for later, if I may. But why do you think, other than the obvious, could you maybe elaborate or share more of your thoughts on why, as impactful as Garvey was, and as much success and reach he has, that he is so unknown to many of us today?
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious that there was a concerted effort to erase Marcus Garvey, his program, his memory, his legacy, so that people didn't go down that rabbit hole and try to figure out what his program was about and why it had the explosive and meteoric rise that it did in such a short period of time, why it went around the world and gave black people an identity and became a source of pride at a time where there was not one free black country in the world. So it was a they had to. It wasn't just getting rid of Garvey. They had to destroy that whole Pan-African self-determination line of thinking. And that's why after Garvey, everything is about integration, acceptance, and inclusion in society, not building our own society. So that the inclusion is something they can control. Acceptance is something that they can control. But when we start talking about building our own and building unity across national boundaries with people in other countries that are black. First of all, you peep the whole game. The whole game was you got a white racialized world system that is oppressing the black population and the people of color of the world. So most people were not aware of that. They were only aware of what was going on locally, and they didn't link it up like, hey, this white power system, this world system of racialized hierarchy, human hierarchy, is in the whole world. Garvey made that clear, and they could not have that being the organizing basis for peoples of the world. It took us a little while longer to catch on to it, but Garvey understood the game way earlier and made it clear and simple to people so that they didn't have a whole lot of they didn't have a whole lot of confusion or problem understanding that this was what they were dealing with.
So I appreciate what you just said, and what it's prompting me to think about is finding ourselves in this time period of was it Project 2025, and from, let's say, around the time of Garvey moving forward, there was this massive, we've made successes, a lot of people would say, via integration, Voters' Rights Act, and all that. But the 2025 seems to be a effort to reverse that. So what do you think of the idea that Garvey, the self-determination programs of Garvey may even be more amenable or consistent with what it is that it seems like the powers that be are advocating for now, in terms of taking things away from Black people and other people of color?
Well, it certainly is. White people are desperate. Then they needed black people to work. They needed black people to work. They needed to exploit black labor to build wealth. But today that is not necessarily true. Um, that today white people are desperate because of their shrinking numbers and the the advancement of black people within the system that they created to have all the advantages, and black people still have figured out how to overcome the barriers and to advance. That is an assault to the whole sensibility of a white supremacist that believes that actually believes we are inferior, that we can't compete, that the only reason we're going to get a job is because of affirmative action or DEI, that we can't really uh, operate on equal level. They really believe that, and their sense of self-esteem and everything is tied to it. So when you start contradicting that, and you on TV, on HGTV, and black people buying $1 million homes and living well and doing well, and that psychologically that's one problem. I think the other thing is that white people are desperate because their numbers are shrinking, and um, people of color are continuing to rise. 90% of all the people born in the country are people of color every day, and 90% of all the people dying every day are white people. So, it doesn't take you, not too hard to do that math that pretty soon, very soon, uh, white people will be a minority in their own country, and democracy can't work for you if you don't have the numbers. So it's like the thing they're doing in Texas. You're going to have you what you're going to end up with is you're going to have 25% of the people controlling 75% of the congressional seats in the state.
So this sounds
And
like a card tag to me.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a white minority rule. And I think that Project 2025 has already anticipated that this has to be the way forward. They have to end up with uh, a rigged system that is more rigged than it was before, where the white minority is still in firm control of the country, even though the white minority is shrinking every day.
So it's, I guess, an effort for self-preservation of white power. And but it seems to me, Marcus Garvey, particularly the things you highlighted in the sermon, his work and accomplishments can, what do you think of the idea that they serve as a viable blueprint for us in terms of where we are today?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think that there has been no more sophisticated or comprehensive analysis and program that black people have brought forth beyond Marcus Garvey. The the most successful efforts at self-determination have modeled themselves on Marcus Garvey and use it as a blueprint for moving forward. And I think it's a valid blueprint because um, it has a valid analysis of our situation, and it offers a concrete program for our advancement and liberation. So we don't have to, that part has been done. I mean,
If you talk to people in the barbershop or, wherever we find ourselves, we still seem to have this idea that the system has something for us or that
mhm.
they owe us something. That in conjunction with the idea that we settled for or worked for symbolic changes, or the idea that people were going to change their minds, suggests some type of mental situation. And you do talk about DBI briefly in the sermon. How do we break that hold, or how do we move people to being more open to the prospect of a UNIA program, particularly where we are now?
Well, you have a democratic uh, American Western mythology, and that we're caught in because we don't have a counter mythology. We don't have a counter understanding of how the world might work. So yeah, we think that yeah, we got certain benefits in society, and we'd like to keep those and improve on to get some more. But you have to have a what Garvey did was give a whole nother view of the world that it can be a completely different way. And that's what made him more dangerous. That made him dangerous because he was freeing people's minds from the mythology of the Western world, where basically had black people in a position of subservience and powerlessness in a world in which white people had all the power. And now, so then the way we struggle is we try to convince them to treat us better. But they all the power, they do make all the decision making. Garvey was saying that's not necessarily. Garvey said the world is run on a bluff. That
On a bluff.
on a bluff. That
Mhm.
that the white man doesn't have the power that he claims to have. And if we ever got organized, we would see that we're much more powerful than we believe we are.
But what I mean, does it take, I'll use the word dire circumstances, which people really feel like where we are now is just we're at the end of our rope. What are we gonna do? This is
Yeah,
getting
it takes dire circumstances.
that
It takes
would
it takes dire circumstances because of our mentality.
so how do we change that? Because to me, I think of that as being like extrinsic motivation. So something external to me is causing me to is motivating me to do something, as opposed to something internal within me saying this is what I need to do. And I think that Garvey tried to get us to look at ourselves. You said it, you implied it in what you said. Look at our own potential and our ability to be the powerful people that we really are. So how do we move ourselves, or how do we move our people in that direction?
I think you have to have a model. You have to have a model of some success. Uh, or you have to have like our beloved founder used to say, you can show black people easier than you can tell them, and that our institutions, our programs, they are visible symbols of what we can do. It's not like we have to convince people that we can do something. They see it being done. So
Mhm.
having a model of black people having some progressive activity, some independent success, uh, suggests that maybe this is the way to go. You think about all those federal employees that are laid off, all those people that are those people that they call DEI hires in corporate America that they're throwing out today. These are all the highly skilled, highly educated people who can do a lot of things. If you had a program where they could bring their gifts to the altar, we could we could grow as rapidly in this time as Garvey did in his time. Garvey's Negro World newspaper, that became the largest black circulating newspaper in the world, was the equivalent of today's social media. It was a mechanism by which he could communicate with everybody, communicate with anybody, people around the world. But you consider that that is accelerated by today's technology, and our ability to communicate with each other is, 1,000 times greater. So if you have if you had a model that can be displayed, uh, people looking for answers and hope would come to it, and the more people that come to it, and the more successful it becomes, it just drives up more and more people to say that I'm gonna try this because this is the only positive option that I see out here. And that builds on itself like a snowball rolling down a hill. The issue is to get the demonstration model in operation that can lead to that kind of excitement and possibility. And I think that the opportunity to do what Garvey did is as great today or greater today than it was at the time that he did it.
What time is it? It's nation time.